talk to God when I need a favor.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Just Talk with Joe Meyer, the vlog edition. I'm your host, Joe Meyer. Thank you for being here with me once again as we kick off another episode, a rather special episode in my opinion, one that I think many people are an episode that talks about what many people may be struggling with today, and that's job loss. Yes, folks, I am one of those people. I lost my job in tech, right? I was actually working in fintech or financial technology, and I lost my position on Tuesday. And it's still very raw and fresh in my mind, and going through it. For many of you who don't know what I do, and I really don't talk about what I do from a job perspective, or at least I haven't even had a chance, or I haven't really talked about it, because you know why? It's probably because everything was going well. I mean, I was content in my job. I was basically what I was called a implementation software consultant. Now, that's just a title. I wasn't a consultant or anything. That's just a title. And I've had other positions that had that title, similar title, where it was a financial service consultant. So basically, I've worked in financial services since 2011. I worked in banking, I worked in financial aid, I worked in many different fields. But in the last few years, I would say since 2018, I primarily worked in fintech. So I worked primarily on two different aspects. Both of them dealt with dealing with the client. And as acting as like a project manager in a way. And I also have my PMP, which is my project management certification. I got that in June of last year. So that hopefully will help me in the job market. I also have a bachelor's in business and a master's in business, right? So, and years of experience. It was actually quite a shock for me and for many of the people that I work with when the company that I work for basically gave us no warning, so what to speak of being let go. There was no talk about restructuring, no talk of layoffs, nothing like that. Nothing. And kind of how it goes is Tuesday morning, I had an early morning meeting with a client, and it was 7 a.m., which is when my meeting was. I got up and I automatically I usually check Teams because it's on my phone, and just check to see if there's any messages or anybody left me comments or anything that somebody needed, and I couldn't get in. Which was unusual. So then I checked my email, right? Not my work email, just my personal email. And then I saw an email from HR at MeridianLink. And of course, the first words you see on there is, "We're sorry to inform you," right? And then I read further, "We're sorry to inform you that you've been, due to the recent," or how was it going? I don't even want to look at the email, to be honest. But it was something to the effect of, in regards to the CEO message this morning, you have been one of the ones who have been let go. Something to that effect, and part of the restructure. And the company I work for is public, and in a way it doesn't really make it any better, but when I asked HR, like, why did we get such late notice? Like, we weren't even aware that we were getting let go, or there was any possibility of being let go. They were like, "Oh, okay, well, that's because we're a public company, and it's actually, we have to follow certain rules and guidelines to to notify the employees. Uh, in all honesty, that has nothing in a way to do with me. You know, um, what what does it matter if we're a public company? But in a way, I understand because, yeah, I guess they don't want it to get out early. They don't want the company to mention anything relating to restructuring or relating to anything like that. And then I saw a message, or not a message, but I was reading kind of the profile of the company that I work for that's public, and um, it said something about where the board approved the restructuring, and then they basically let um, the New York Stock Exchange or whoever knows about the restructuring because it can have an effect on stock, right? And that's really what they're worried about, in my opinion. They really care about the stockholders, the shareholders, right? They don't want to affect. Ultimately, in my opinion, they don't want to affect the value of the company, But still, beside the point, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. People lost their jobs, and about 9% of the company. If I estimate, there's probably around. It's a big company. It's not like a Google. It's not like a Twitter. Nothing like that. I think they have anywhere from I'll say it like this, a range, anywhere from 8 to 1,000 employees, I guess. Could be more, but they laid off about 9% of those people, right? So I was one of them. In the email, there was a link saying I had a 9:40 Zoom meeting with HR and also the director of the department. And so obviously I went there. They talked to me about severance, talked to me about next steps, returning equipment, all that. Not disparaging the company, of course, and I'm not gonna do that, obviously. In a way, am I angry? Like natural anger in the sense of not being notified, not being aware, but I will say that I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because we are a tech company and we're not untouchable. We're not immune to having these type of issues. I don't know if it would have happened to a private company this way. If we were private, maybe we would have gotten notified because there's no shareholders. Right? There's no stock exchange. So maybe we would have had an opportunity to prepare. But still. And then after I had my meeting, they gave us times of when our system was going to stop working, basically our computer access and all that. I was able to log into my computer and say goodbye to many of my colleagues, co-workers, people that I worked closely with for almost 3 years. So that was very difficult because a lot of those people were important to me. The group of people that I worked with, a few of them, actually we're a small team. We're kind of teams, we're part of one big team, but there's individual teams with different managers, obviously. They're called practice managers. And probably about, I think like 5 of them. And they all have teams of their own, which I was included in one of those. And each of those teams, there's probably like 6 people, right? Oh, 10 people, excuse me, 10 to 12 people. And on my team alone, there were probably about 4 of us that got let go. After kind of having an ability to kind of go over the shock, and one of the documents that the company had sent me was in relation to my age, right? Because I'm over the age of 40, and they had to disclose something to those who are over the age of 40. Um, Job titles, ages of those who are being let go. Right? I guess they're obviously worried about, or any company is worried about discrimination. They're worried about illegalities, making sure that they're doing everything proper. They're making sure that we don't accuse them of ageism, which, looking at the document that they provided, there were many people over the age of 40 that were let go, compared to those who were in their 30s and 20s who kept their jobs, right? So, couldn't help to notice that ageism could be a factor here, unfortunately. And the hard thing is that the two people that originally interviewed me, and I won't mention their names out of respect for them, they interviewed me. One was my age, about 42, 43. The other one was probably in his 50s, if I estimate. And they were both let go. And they were with the company for many, many years. Many of my colleagues or coworkers that got let go with me, the ones in my team, many of them were there for just about a year, which doesn't make a difference how long they were there. They were still let go. No one anticipates that those situations happen in that short period of time. No one takes on a role where they are going to get let go or laid off. I know I wouldn't. If somebody said your job won't be here in a year from now, well, it better be a pretty fantastic job where I'm learning something that I can learn nowhere else. But if it's something that I can learn elsewhere, I'm probably not going to take the risk, because then I'm going to be looking for work again in a year. Again, these are things that were quite shocking. It's hard because the people that I worked closely with, they were over 40. Will they find new positions, hopefully equal to what they had just right now, along with me? I'm hoping, right? But it's hard. Because it's in my opinion, in this country, and I'm sure other countries struggle to do this as well, when you hit 40, they look at you differently. They look at you like you're used garbage, like you're yesterday's garbage, so to speak, right? Like, oh, we'll get somebody newer. We'll get somebody younger, cheaper. They may have less experience, but you know what? It's better, these older people, which a lot of companies today consider those over 40 older, which I'm not. It's painful, right? It really is painful. I don't know. It's hard because it's still, like I said, it's still very raw to me. And I'm hopeful for opportunities. The last time I was laid off / fired was in October of 2019. I did get a position, and I remember this date of December 23rd of 2019. Started that position January of 2020. I was there until July of 2020, which led me to this position where I'm at now. Okay. So I have been working for 3 years, right? I have been. And the reason I left the other company in July of 2020 was primarily because one was pay, and the other reason was the job. The job, although it wasn't a bad job, it was actually a good job. But one of the things that I didn't like about it, in a sense, is I was just stuck at a desk, in a sense. I didn't talk to customers, didn't talk to clients, didn't have a lot of interaction with people other than working on my desk. And again, it was a good job. There was nothing wrong with it, but I love helping people. That's a part of who I am. I love talking to people. I love managing projects. I love that part of my job. And I didn't have that in the position. So I left. There was other reasons too. I mean, one of the other reasons I felt I need to leave or get out of there was because I was butting heads with a coworker, and she was a young coworker. She was probably, and you may say not young, but she was like probably late 20s. She was there for a few years already. I don't even remember her name, to be honest. But there were things that I guess she didn't like about me, and then she started to act passive aggressive towards me. And I'm not passive aggressive, or at least I don't think I am. And I usually just try to ignore those individuals or those situations, but she made it really difficult. So what happened is that I went to go talk to our manager and get his advice. He kind of just shrugged his shoulders like, well, what do you want me to do? The one thing he did go talk to this woman, my coworker, and then she ended up calling me or coming to me very angry because she said basically in her own words that I had destroyed her reputation within the organization because I went to the manager instead of going to her. I didn't destroy her anything. But yeah, maybe I should have gone to her, spoken to her directly, but I was really just trying to get my manager's advice, which should be a neutral person. But again, anyways, it's not like I, reported her to HR or anything like that, or she has a black mark on her perfect record. It wasn't anything like that. But again, it forced me to kind of go look for something, which this position where I was at, the company that I was at, I was fully aware of this company many years ago, back as early as maybe 2017. And I actually applied back then, but I didn't get a call back. I didn't get hired, right? Until probably in June of 2020, when I was on LinkedIn and I applied for this position, and things moved pretty quickly. I got an interview, I got hired. It was certainly a different time in my life. I know it may seem like, oh, it was only a few years ago. Yes, but in my opinion, a lot has changed in those last 2 years. I think I feel I've grown a lot in my career, mentally, and I feel this was a great learning ground, a training ground to future things. So the knowledge I gained here at this company is not lost, especially from my manager, who, I will say this, I don't think we got along at very first when she first became my manager. She's very nice, but I think she probably at first didn't understand. I just think she didn't really understand my working style, my habits. And basically it was hard because my manager before her, which was the manager who stuck with me from the very beginning of when I first started, he took another role within the company, and he no longer was my manager or our manager, and then she came aboard, which was fine. And she basically helped me train me, so to speak. Now, my old manager before her, I will say this, he's wonderful and nice. He was a great manager to me, kind, passionate. He was motivating to me. This manager, she's just different. She didn't, I want to make her sound bad because she was very nice and respectful, but she wasn't one to compliment very often. Maybe once in a while, The old manager did compliment me more regularly, and I'm not saying that because I need a pat on the back every day or every week or every all the time. No, I don't really need that. But I need to know how well I'm doing. I need to know if what I'm doing is correct. I don't want to be one of those individuals in the workforce that just people just think that, oh, he's just going to do things his way, and because he's older, so to speak, and we're not going to be able to train him our way. I'm not like that. Train me however way you want to train me. I'll do exactly the way you want me to do it. Eventually, I adjust with my own style. But again, during the course of this last year, to 2020, because she became my manager in January of 2022, until now. And I think we had a good relationship. There were times I did make mistakes. She called me on it, which was fine. She had every right to. It doesn't feel good to make mistakes, but the mistakes that I made were not like fireable offenses. They were mistakes I made with clients, things that, that I should have watched out for, but didn't. Maybe I just didn't see it. These are things that I will watch out for the future. So, what happens? Well, obviously, I'm in the job search mode. Hadn't taken a vacation in over a year, so we're gonna take a little time off, not too much time, rest up, recharge, spend time with family a little bit. I also have a surgery that's taking place this month on the 20th. It's a very minor surgery, but I'll be under anesthesia for about an hour. And recovery time takes about a few weeks because it's a very delicate area that they need to work on of me, exterior. And it's something I've been dealing with for many years now that I finally have decided to get corrected. But I don't know. I still teach, which is a blessing, right? In 2019, one of the most challenging things was the fact that a few different things happened in that year. One, when I worked for an old college that I was with for almost 10 years, closed suddenly. They just closed. They went out of business because they weren't financially sustainable anymore. It's something that completely shocked me as well. I just got an email stating, oh, we're actually closing on this date. I'm sorry. You're gonna get your last paycheck soon. That was one of the most hardest moments I will never forget. That college meant everything to me because I was there for 9 years. I love the students, the staff, the faculty, and I didn't expect that to happen, and I still remember it today. And it's something that leaves a scar in me when things like that happen, for being with a company for that long. That's the longest, I think the longest company I've ever been with. And then after that, from June of 2019, and not all the way until December of that year, I didn't get another teaching role. So in between that, and then in October of 2019, I lost my full-time job because my teaching was my part-time job. But it was a very good part-time job. I made excellent money there. I mean, nothing like I make today teaching. You know? And that's what was so hard about it too, because that really helped my family. And it was a struggle. But what happened during that time is that was a time, I think it was in August of 2019, my wife actually started working there. And the money helped. And I will say this, I'm very thankful during that time because my wife was working and she was helping, and it wasn't as much of a financial hard hit as just me carrying it by myself.
Just
Right?
barely throwing up prayers like Hail
And I know it
Mary,
was hard
if
for
you
her
still
because the job required her to work the graveyard shift.
oh my God, Hail Mary.
And we would take her, literally, we would take her to work at 8 p.m. And she wouldn't get out till like 4 a.m. And of course, we would have to get out, me and my daughter, our daughter, to go pick her up because because I want her to be safe. And because those times are dangerous. If you've ever driven or gone to the graveyard shift and drive around at 4 a.m. in the morning, it is probably, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous times to be driving around. Literally, the main street that we have to pass through to get her, pick her up at her work at those times. I would go there to pick her up. When I would come back, there would usually be an accident. And I also have heard that there were cases where at those exact same times, literally the street that we drove past or on, there were people that were killed in drunk driving accidents. Quite a few during those exact times. And it blew my mind because I was like, wow, yeah, I get it. Yeah, people drinking and driving at 4 a.m., 2 a.m., 1 a.m. in the morning, those are not safe times. People will think like, no one's on the road. Well, yeah, people are on the road drinking and driving, killing people. And those are the times that I really don't want to be on the road. And they were hard because it messes kind of with your biological clock, so to speak, of the time you sleep, the time you rest, your mind, and it really affected her. Eventually her schedule changed where she was able to change it to work, mornings or afternoons to evenings, but she gets out like around 9 o'clock or 8, which is fine. I do also, like I said, I do teach from 6 to 10, Monday through Thursday, and that job looks stable. Right? I don't think anything's gonna happen. At least I hope not. But these are the things that I need to think about what my next steps are. And my next steps, obviously, they're going to be looking for a work. My other things that I was thinking about is maybe independent consulting. That I've been really thinking about for actually about a year. But every time, there's actual woman on LinkedIn. She's an HR consultant. Her name is Liz Ryan, and she has these consulting coaching classes that are very reasonably priced. I want to take those so I can learn how to be a consultant and basically take the skill sets that I have and work for, just be a contractor and independent consultant for financial institutions, banks, and possibly just implement the software that they have for them. So let's say they go to my company or the company I work for or another company and they want to implement a software into their financial institution, and I could help them lead, I could help them test, I could help them implement those kind of things for a cost, right? Because what I've seen is many of the clients that I work with, that was a very challenging part of their tasks because they have other jobs to do, right? So these are things that I think would be important. But if I need to implement that or put that in place, I need to, legally, I need to get like my sole proprietorship, or now I'm drawing a blank on what I need to do, legally terms, and then I can open up a bank account and accept money, right, for legal purposes and IRS purposes, right? and then also get a website, right? And that's all you really need, right? And then start working on getting businesses out there to take you on, and I think I could do that, along with possibly working full time and teaching. It's something that I've thought about for quite some time now. So we'll see what happens, right? The other side of things that really affect me during these times is my mental health. Right? And it's natural that when things like this happen, that people, especially myself, our minds go dark. We start thinking about dark things, about death and a way out, and how am I going to support my family? How am I going to support them financially? Because I don't have a job. But that may seem unreasonable, because many people are going to say, "Hey, Joseph, you'll get another job. What's the big deal? Like you'll get another one. You'll be fine." I don't always see it that way. I always think of a worst case scenario, like, oh man, I lost my job, I'm not going to get one for years, I'm not going to be able to support my family, we're going to be homeless, we're going to be destitute, we're going to have no food, we're going to have nothing, we're going to lose everything. And some of you think like, oh man, that's really dramatic. Like, does that really happen to people? Yes, it does. Has it happened to me? No. I have lots of education, I have a background, I have, things that will help us. I'm working part-time, my wife is working. We have money. It's not completely hopeless, right? Our health is good, thank God, knock on wood, right? But these are things that when I got the news last week, I couldn't sleep, I was worried, I was concerned, and you know what, I need to get back to my roots of depending on God more. Because God is in control of these situations. The problem is that, and I tell my wife this, we put so much faith in people, in companies, in the economy, in the world to give us things, so to speak. Now, I'm not saying that they just give it to us and we don't get nothing, or we don't do anything for it. We work for it. We provide our services to those companies, our time, our intelligence, our work, and we get money in return, obviously. That's what work is, right? But the problem is that we've lifted up companies that's so high, like, oh wow, they're the answer to my prayers. They're the answer to me getting what I want out of life. But that's not true. The answer to our prayers is God. The answer to us living better lives and having prosperity and money and the things we need and want are in God. They're not in people. But it's hard because we do put a lot of faith in people, in what they're going to give us. And the minute we stop believing in companies and people, we start relying on God. We know that, hey, what am I worried about? God has it. And I know I'm saying that. And I have to believe it. Because, yes, I'm a believer. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. He has never steered me wrong. Has He left me alone? No. Has He left me for a moment, in a sense? In any case, has He always not been there? No. But has He allowed things to happen? Yes. Has He allowed me to lose my jobs? Yes. Has He allowed me to go through financial hardships at times? Yes. But they were all to help me grow. They were all to help me be better. They were all to help me grow up. They were all to help me and my family be stronger in the long run. Right? But I've been at the depths of to the lowest bottom, right? And I've talked about this. Some of the hardest times I've ever had were 2015 to 2018. Those were tough years. Tough, right? But we got through them. Got through them. Now life is different now because we have an apartment. Back then, we lived in my father's house, the devil's house, as I call it, because there was, in my opinion, there was evil entities there. Demons or ghosts or spirits, something evil was there in that house. And that was the house that I almost lost my life in 2007. There was something there that was really genuinely trying to push me to try to get me to end my life. And I was in my most deepest despair at those times of my life. And I was there, and then in 2015 to 2018, me, my wife, and our daughter lived there with my father. Because I was having financial hardships. Back then, in my opinion, if I was the man I was back then that I am today, we probably would have never moved. We probably would have stayed in our apartment. I would have found another way. But my mind was not the same back then. I was blind. I felt like literally there was like a shroud over my eyes of things I wasn't seeing. I was too blinded by doing things, and I had good intentions, meaning during those years, the reason why there was so much a big shift and a change is because I got into my mind that I wanted to go back to school, which is not a bad thing. But I wanted to be an electrical lineman, which was one of those men that climbs up the electrical poles and fixes electricity. And the reason I got that in my mind is because when I worked in banking at that time, I came across a great deal of many of my customers who did that. And I kid you not, these men were making like $20,000 a month. They're making a lot of money. And I was like seeing dollar signs. And I was like, this is what I would like to do. I need to make $20,000 a month. And I left my full-time job. I left my part-time job. I took my family and I moved us into Los Angeles with my father. In the depths of hell, so to speak, because that place is hell, in my opinion. And I'm talking South Central Los Angeles. And I get it, people live there, you know, but it's not a good place. And we were there for 3 years. And it was very difficult. Very, very, very difficult to live in that situation. And during those times, after I left my job and went to school, I was there for about 5 weeks. Took out a student loan, private student loan, that I'm almost paid off with. And came back home. Now, one thing that I did not do, which I probably wish I would have done, is my wife tried to nicely tell me, Joseph, this is just not for you. You shouldn't do it. And I didn't listen. I said, no, I'm going to do it. I need to do this. I need to help our family. And I didn't listen. So I went to school. I drove there. Our car was still fairly new. I just got it in 2013. Drove my car over there, left my family in Los Angeles, packed up everything, and left them there. And I would come back like on the weekends, which was hard because it was a long trip. But I did it anyways because my daughter was only 2 at that time. and she missed her dad. And I missed them. And basically what happened is that during that time, when I was at school, I was in the classroom teaching, no, not teaching, I was in the classroom learning and doing my outside training. And one of the instructors, the main instructor, who taught all the classes, he came up to me and he kindly said to me, "Hey Joseph, I see that you're really trying, and I see that. But do you think this is the right field for you to be in? It is a dangerous field." And one of the things that they would teach us in the classroom is the possibility that we would die on the job. The possibility that we would get electrocuted, and also that we would not be able to spend time with our family mostly because we'd be working a lot. And that, we'd be making good money for our families, which was nice and all, but we would not really be there. Would miss holidays and birthdays, you know? Now, one of the things that I would see with a lot of my customers who did these jobs is they had money, so to speak, and they didn't have money. Many of these people who did this work, yes, they made monthly, they made good incomes, but they hardly had any money at the end of the month. They actually didn't have any money. Some were actually well overdrawn in their accounts, and their credit reports were completely shot. They would have charge-offs, they would have negative things on their credit reports, things that you would not expect someone to have if they made $20,000 a month. But they had all the toys. They had the RV, they had the boat, they had the big house, they had, their kids going to good schools. I mean, they had it all, right, so to speak. But they didn't have anything. They were flat broke. And I made the choice to say, hey, you know what? I went home or to the apartment that I was there, and I said, you know what? This is not for me. And went back. And it was one of those failures that I'll never forget. And it just goes to show you the spirit that I have for my family. That I would do anything for them, put my life at risk for them, do whatever job needed to be done. And I did that. During those years when I came back, I worked, I got a job back at my old credit union. I was working part-time in the branch. I got another part-time job at another credit union that my sister worked at. And she'd been there for almost 20 years. So I worked basically 2 part-time jobs. I also taught evenings. And then I did Lyft on the evenings that I was not teaching and on the weekends. And basically I drove my car into the ground, basically, because of all the driving around and the high mileage and all that. I didn't really make anything. It kind of kept me afloat, but it really didn't help. It's not like I put that money in my bank account and it was extra money for me to spend on what I wanted. No, it went towards the family. It went towards diapers, formula, bills. It was a hard thing. And then it was just a lot of financial hardships during those years. I'm lucky in the sense that I didn't just end my life. And to this day, I think about why I didn't do it. I didn't do that because obviously I love my wife, I love my daughter. I don't want to leave them in that kind of situation. But those are the kind of dark thoughts that I get now. And this is just me thinking. It's not saying I'm going to do anything. But when those dark thoughts come, they come into, okay, would my family be okay if I'm not here? Would they they would have probably life insurance or have money, but they wouldn't have me. Would they be okay? Yeah, they would probably suffer emotionally because I'm not around, but they would be okay financially. So weighing the options, and it's a hard thing to think about, and most of us don't really think about that. And then I think about all the celebrities over the course of years who basically off themselves, who, aside from all the people that normal people like who are not celebrities, like you and I, who hurt themselves and end their lives. I think I read in the CDC is there's one person kills himself every 11 minutes in the United States. One person kills himself every 11 minutes. And these are things that I think about. Because I think about those celebrities, like I think a lot about, for some reason, I don't even know why, but Steven Twitch Boss, the guy the dancer who was on the Ellen DeGeneres show, who killed himself last December. And the guy had everything. I mean, the guy had a beautiful family, 3 kids, a wife, money. I think he was worth around $5 million. His wife was worth around $2 million. He obviously didn't have that show anymore because Ellen obviously stopped, or she canceled it. But Ellen's fine. Don't worry for Ellen. She has plenty of $1 million in her bank account. She doesn't even have to work anymore. But someone like him, Steven Twitch Boss, you don't really know what somebody goes like that. The thing is, when you see somebody like that, similar to like Robin Williams, although they're completely separate issues, those individuals obviously seem very happy, well-adjusted people. Like they're okay, but many times they're not. And that's similar to me in a way. I'm not saying you should worry. But I put on a face for people. I don't show my true feelings all the time to people because people get freaked out. And when I look at images and videos from Stephen Boss, right? He looked very happy. He looked like loving life. Everything was great. And then he goes to a motel, goes by and kills himself. And his family, obviously, you look at them, and I don't know them. One of the things that stick in my mind about him is one of the last conversations he had with his grandfather or his father. And one of the messages he sent to him or them was, words matter. Right? To his father or grandfather, I forget which one. And those were one of his last words he told me. So my assumption is that somebody said something to him that really hurt him. And there are those things that really hurt us otherwise. What would push us over the edge? Like if somebody said, I want a divorce. You're a terrible person. I hate you. And maybe there are people that really, you love them so dearly. It could be a variety of things. Who knows? Everyone's different. But something I think affected him. But I think deep down, behind the scenes, did he maybe suffer through depression? It's possible, but maybe that's not something people want to talk about. People don't want it out in the open. Maybe I'm sure his wife probably knew about something. In my opinion, yes, she's devastated, but at the same time, she doesn't look very surprised, in a sense. Like she was kind of, I don't know, like in my opinion, just based on what I've seen in the media, which I know it's not always accurate, she looks like, yes, she's devastated, but she's kind of, like she expected it or something. I don't know. Because since his death, you don't really hear anything about what happened. Well, what was the reasoning? Well, there's no speculation. She hasn't said anything. it's important that, and I do hear, well, I did read that he did leave a note. You know? And then I think about others. I think about Chris Cornell. Obviously, his family says he didn't kill himself or he didn't mean to. There's Chester Bennington, I think that's it, from Lincoln Park. So there's others out there, right? Robin Williams, right? And I get it, they're celebrities. They have wealth, they have power, but at the same time, they have everything that most people would ever want or imagine. I mean, some of these men, and they're men, because you don't really hear about women doing it that often, but I'm sure they do. But men celebrities do it. And these men have so much that they don't even have to work anymore. Many of us just try to struggle to keep a job and maintain it and retire one day. And some people don't even get that opportunity. So these are the things that go through my head. And I really need to start praying more, getting on my knees and praying to God more about the opportunities He has for me, how He's going to help my family, help my mental health, be there for me, support me, be back in church more. Right? So these are things that I need to do more of. And when I go to church, have one of the pastors pray for me. Right? And maybe I'll just pray with you guys right now. Right? You guys have never seen me pray, and I guess that's a bad thing in a sense, because I say I'm a Christian and believe in God, but you've never seen me pray. So let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for being here. Father God, we lift up all those who listen, all those who are struggling right now in this world, all those who their mental health is not well, who are struggling with loss of job. Maybe they're going through something financially, going through health problems, and it's really struggling for them. And Lord, just be there for them, support them, and know that you'll get them through that, Father God. Just like I know you'll get us through these situations in our life right now. They're just temporary, and they're meant to make us stronger, not bring us down, Father. And we thank you for your love, your mercy, and grace in our life. And even though this is a hard time, we always want to give the glory to you. And thank you for everything you provide in our life each day. And pray for those in our life. And just give us peace in this time. In Jesus' name. And short prayer, right? I'm not here to keep you for an hour-long prayer, which there's nothing wrong with an hour-long prayer. But I'm here to tell you that, hopefully the weeks get better. And hopefully you don't see me change too drastically, but you will see me change and open my eyes more to the situation. And of course, when I start searching for work, getting interviews, hopefully getting some hits. Last year, when I applied for different companies, I got lots of interviews. No jobs, unfortunately, but lots of good interviews. So hopefully we'll have some new opportunities coming my way. Well, everyone, thank you for taking the time again to spend your time with me. This is another Just Talk with Joe Meyer. And have a blessed weekend, blessed day, and take care until next time. Thank you.